Okay, we're going to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today I have a really cool review for you guys from the brand Seiko. A little about them. They were founded back in 1881. They are Japanese in origin and now factories throughout Asia. They cover all market segments from entry level to high end. And in terms of type of watch, this is an everyday watch. Some key common characteristics and design language. When you're looking for something you can wear every day, of course you're really just going to want that versatile blend of both sporty and dressy attributes. This is the Seiko 5 Sports SNKP21J1, and this is a Jomashop find, guys. This is an old school Seiko 5 with a matching old school price tag to match. It is also a made in Japan model with the classic black and steel layout accentuated by a quirky and collectible Arabic numeral dial. You can get these for $149 from Jomashop, guys. And I just can't say enough about that. Like, that is really cool. The fact that these are still in production, and that there's still an abundance of these that you will still find. This is probably one of the last times you're going to see something like this. So we're actually able to buy this as new old stock, which I think is outstanding. It's a really fun piece. Obviously harkens back to a fun time in my collecting journey in terms of these, old school Seiko 5s with the old badge. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, so yeah, as you guys can see, this is the real deal. So I know sometimes people wonder, I feel like that's one of the most common comments in any type of watch forum or Facebook group is, hey, has anybody had any experiences with Jomashop? Are they legit? Because the prices, right? They are gray market technically, right? So one of the nice things is that they're able to just buy certain things in bulk and check that out. Look at that glossy dial. No, it's not an enamel dial, but look at the just beautiful reflection you can get off of that. Very nice. Old school tag, guys. 21 jewels. Made in Japan. Yes, made in Japan dial. Let's go ahead and see that. Made in Japan. This is a J1 model. J1. So very, very cool, guys. Some of you are thinking, hey, I've seen that model before. I don't really need more information on it. And some of you are like, I've never heard of this odd little unicorn. So very cool. I mean, it's just fun to have that hang tag on there. But let's go ahead, get this out of the way. Big shout out to Jomashop again for sending this piece over for me to share with my audience. That's all of you. Now, a little bit about this piece. It's a 42 millimeter watch, and I know some of you are thinking 42 is kind of big for this type of watch, but if you look very closely, you can see that it does have a chapter ring and then another hour ring inside of that, and then the indices are, or I should say the indexing in those Arabic numerals are on the even more inside. So everything is pushed towards the center. So visually, this is going to appear smaller on the wrist than you would think for a 42. And honestly, a 42 isn't huge. That's what I would consider like, a good size pilot's watch, right? Where it's a full size, not an oversize, depending on your wrist, of course. Now, 42 millimeters in diameter, 11.4 millimeters thick with a 51 millimeter lug to lug. That's going to be probably what might scare some of you, is that 52. Let me actually give this a quick little wipe here off camera just to get some of those fingerprint smudges off. So that 52 millimeter lug to lug might be alarming for some of you, but you can see in typical Seiko fashion, it has a nice slope downwards on those lugs. This is old school, guys. You can see these are hollow end links, hollow links. The movement inside is a non-hacking, non-hand windable movement. It does have a 41-hour power reserve and does beat at 3 hertz like you would expect. This is a 7S26, famously found in something like, let's say, an SKX. And yeah, it has a push-pull crown. 5 bar of water resistance, so this isn't a full 100 meters of water resistance, but hey, it also is relatively thin when you check out the profile. And then of course, because you can't hack it or hand wind it, you just do the little shimmy here, the little Seiko shimmy, the little dance, and you get it going, and then you set it. And if you keep wearing it, you won't have to reset it, so that's pretty good. This is, again, a watch that is available for under $150, which is cool because this is an Arabic dial. And this isn't an Arabic dial to be a gimmick, like maybe, let's say, a micro brand would put out and it's homaging a Patek with an Arabic dial, or or an AP or something like that. This is an Arabic dial from Seiko that made Arabic dials more so for the design, and because they're an international brand and these are sold in a lot of different places. Something like this was really meant, again, it was more of a novelty versus like something where there was strategic, hey, well, we want to associate ourselves with these expensive and collective Arabic numeral dials. These are just fun, super affordable watches that happen to also have that shared characteristic. Now, getting into, of course, some other details, you do have that display back screw in case back there. You can see the movement, which not a lot has changed over the years in terms of the finishing. But something I will note is that Seiko used to really like billboard their movements. Look at Seiko signed there. Then look at the extra writing you can see on that on the rotor there. So I don't know. I think that's kind of fun. It definitely is a product of the era. Of course, yeah, not impressive hollow links, hollow end links, but this does have a 22 millimeter lug width, so you can actually take this off of the bracelet and put it on any other kind of strap. I mean, 20 and 22 are the most common, and because of its larger size, I think the 22 millimeter lug width is the right choice, because then when you do put it on, it does, again, proportionally, right? Because if it was a 40 and you had a 20, 42, and a 22, it's going to keep those proportions pretty nice, and it's going to seem nice and balanced, right? Getting into this dial, it is glossy black. It does have that day-date complication there, and you can see different wheels. In this case, you do have the Arabic wheel, but you can swap that over. You have two choices essentially between Arabic and English, so that's pretty cool. And then you do get a very cool applied logo, that 5 logo, the shield, and then everything else is printed in terms of the indexing, and they do a nice job. I would say that if you can see here, those hour markers are actually a silver tone, and you know what? It's kind of annoying me that it's just looking kind of squirrely and dusty through the viewfinder. So let me just do that, and then maybe even for good measure, so you guys can get a nice look at this piece. So into some more of those details. 22 millimeter lug width, hollow links, hollow end links. It does have a mild taper from 22 to about 19 and a half. You do have this push button folding clasp with 3 micro adjustment holes, all manual. But check out this clasp, man, look at that. I don't know, there's something just so nostalgic about this Seiko 5 Japan. I mean, it's just very retro, and it's cool that, I mean, honestly, this isn't some vintage watch. This is a watch that they just kept producing and have an abundance of. And hey, good news for you guys, Jomashop found a bunch and decided to buy them up so that they could sell them to you for not very much. So yeah, I love that. That's probably my favorite. I mean, apart from the dial, this is probably my favorite aspect, is the Seiko 5 Japan clasp. Although it is stamped, right? I don't know, there's just something, let me know in the comments below what you think. There's something super nostalgic about this setup for me. Again, it's from a time when, there's a lot of billboarding, right? There was on the movement, a bunch of signatures. On the clasp, you're getting all of this extra text. Even on the dial, although it is, I think, quite balanced. Check that out. You got the Seiko 5 up underneath the 12, and then above the 6 you have the 50 meters, the 21 joules automatic. Nice balance there. And then of course you do have the day and date window, and the Arabic numerals I think look fantastic. This reminds me of back when I was in Iraq, in the Marine Corps, and I had to learn Arabic numerals for license plates to to understand and write down, and you know, which license plates were coming on and off the bases if I was working towers or the drop arm or something like that. So I don't know, there's a lot of fun here, guys, but let's go ahead, get this piece on the wrist to see how it wears. All right, guys, as you can see on my 7.5 inch wrist, this wears well, right? Of course, if I get my wrist a little bit too close to the camera lens, you're gonna get some perspective distortion. So I'll keep my wrist nice and low. You guys can see that it does contour quite nice around the wrist, but there's a little bit of jingly jangliness on the wrist. Of course, if you take it off, there'll be plenty of jingly jangly, but that's part of the charm. I mean, honestly, guys, if you, all of those vintage watches that you might drool over but never get a chance to handle, chances are they all have jingly jangly bracelets. They will lack things like hacking and hand winding. So it's, you know, this is pretty true to form, except the difference is this is an unworn, like you're, again, there's a retailer out there that has inventory of a bunch of new old stock, which is cool. I mean, it's just a fun find, and again, a Jomashop find. I've bought from Jomashop personally in the past, so, and my wife has even got me gifts from there. I think some Certinas from back in the day before they were so abundant in North America. So check that out though, guys. This is just a cool looking fun piece. What I'll do is I'll keep my wrist nice and low and then just tighten up the frame here so you guys can get a detailed look while still keeping a bit of a truer aspect ratio. And you can see, although not small, I don't know, it just doesn't really strike me as oversized. It might be that black and steel layout. It's just very clean and classic. And again, that Arabic dial, this is something that pretty much any watch aficionado will recognize as desirable and collectible, just because they're so much fun. Typically, you think of Arabic numerals, you don't think of actual Arabics. So yeah, I think this is really fun, and yeah, I'm glad that Jomashop found a bunch of these, and I was able to share this with you all. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, set up for some loom shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Hey, check it out. There's loom. Not a crazy amount. The Arabics aren't loomed. Remember, they're in silver paint, so they really prioritized daylight, legibility, and aesthetic versus how these are going to look in the dark. But hey, it does the job. Now, one thing I always like to work in, of course, is a bit of a low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. You may even include a bit of harsh lighting, which could expose any types of factory defects. But what you're going to see here is, again, a pretty well put together timepiece. Yes, it is a product of the time, of the design. It is hollow. But again, the brushing is good. The polishing is also good. You know, and yes, you can get cheaper watches with better specs, but are you going to get something like this? Look how black and inky that dial is. I'm trying to get it to reflect back, but maybe all you're going to get is a bit of fingerprints off of that Hardlex. So yeah, no, it's not sapphire. It's Hardlex crystal, but again, I think that adds to the charm. This isn't a new watch trying to look old. This is an old watch that was just popular enough to keep being produced. So guys, some of you probably noticed, hey, that bracelet is standing up on its own. Yes, guys, this is old school, so it doesn't have a lot of articulation. It's going to sit on the wrist like that, and things are going to feel a little sharp to the touch every now and again. Now it's going to be hard for me to get this to stand back up for these final thoughts, but there we go. Okay, guys, closing thoughts on the wrist. The smaller centralized dial and relatively thin profile definitely help the watch wear smaller on the wrist. Although larger than I would prefer for this style of watch, it does feel totally fine and not really oversized. More like, again, a basic pilot's watch type of fit. No, I don't mean like a pilot's watch with a bunch of, you know, chrono features or anything like that and pushers. Just a basic like pilot's watch. I think this wears similar to that. If you wanted to put it on a pilot's strap, you easily could. So, you know, again, in terms of size and scale, I think it's still quite wearable for a lot of wrists because it doesn't look like a dress watch that's trying to look small. Would it be nice in 38? Sure, I'd love it in 38. I'd love it in 38 with a 6R movement or a 4R movement with a sapphire crystal, solid everything. But guess what? That would also make it cost a lot more, and it also wouldn't be the genuine article, right? It wouldn't be this cool find. So yeah, you know, could it always be better? Absolutely. But you know, this is a cool one. So in terms of model variants, I guess kind of not applicable because this is the model variant that I'm looking at. Of course, there are model variants that are going to share this case, bracelet, whatever. But you know, this line's been produced so long, there's infinite, I feel like, amounts of different Seiko 5s. And that's just the vintage ones, right? Or neo vintage even, not even the new modern ones with the updated logo. So comparable models, again, yes, better spec'd pieces are out there. But for a Seiko fan with a soft spot for the Seiko 5 line, I think this one has a lot to offer, especially with the made in Japan aspect and the fun Arabic dial. So for me, guys, bottom line, if you're into it, definitely don't miss out on this gem of an affordable mechanical watch. If you own it long enough, who knows, maybe it'll grow in value. And if you're not concerned with value retention, then you could always mod it to suit your own tastes and spec preferences. Like you could always up spec this thing. And I mean, you could even, at this price point, honestly, you could just take it for the dial and repurpose it into another watch. So yeah, I think this is, again, quite a deal, quite an offer. The made in Japan dial, you're getting, again, all of the goodies that you would expect from kind of a, you know, a new old stock find. So with that said, let me know what you all think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.